You're listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Last Track Review here on Sports Radio Detroit. As always, I'm your host, Chris Platte. Today's episode will be another part one of two. It's going to be very, very fun. So the quarter ended March 31st, essentially, the first quarter of the year. And I like to do these where I like to look back and say, okay, what happened? What were some of the best albums? What were some of the best storylines? And I wanted to do this podcast sooner, but obviously between the March Madness bracket podcast being split into 2 weeks and then Nipsey's passing, I had to kind of push this story back. But I'm really, really excited to do this podcast because this is one of my favorite things. So this week I'll be going over my top albums because I don't want to really delve too much back into Nipsey's passing just because I felt like I said a lot of things. I said everything I needed to say on Nipsey's tribute podcast. So if you haven't listened to that one, go listen to that one, please, and let me know what you think. Also, if you have not, last week was his Celebration of Life concert where he had a whole bunch of people. It was at the Staples Center, and I believe it was totally filled, and it had everyone from his family, his mother, his pastor, his girlfriend, his longtime girlfriend, his brother, his kids. Everyone gave speeches on Nipsey, and it was beautiful. They had beautiful slideshows showing everything that all just the cool stuff that he did. It was an awesome eulogy, and then amazing performances from people like Janae Aiko and Marsha. I mean, man, there was just so many great moments. It's a whole 4-hour event on YouTube. Please go check it out. It's totally free, and I think it's totally worth the time to just watch bits and pieces of it. I know not everybody has 4 hours to just sit, but even if you could just watch pieces of it, man, those speeches from everyone were fantastic. Snoop Dogg also had an excellent speech. It was just really moving. And it lived up to its title. It was a celebration in Nipsey's life. It was uplifting. You know, it didn't feel sad. It didn't feel sorrow when I was watching it. It felt like an awesome way to say goodbye to Nipsey. So please, if you're a fan of Nipsey, I highly, highly recommend you go check that out. Just search it up in YouTube. Nipsey Hussle Celebration of Life. It's like a 4-hour event. But trust me, it is worth every single second of it. It is fantastic. It was an awesome thing, and I'm glad as a Nipsey fan that I saw it because this was a passing that really hasn't sat right with me, and I do feel like it genuinely gave me a little bit of closure. So that's all I wanted to say on Nipsey's passing. As always, rest in peace, of course, to Nipsey Hussle, and thoughts and prayers with him, his family, his fans, his friends, everyone that is affected by that tragedy. And I think what's made it harder is that we haven't had music to escape to. You know, as somebody who loves music as much as I do, I use music as a way to escape, and we haven't had a big album since Nipsey's passing these last couple weeks. Now, that is actually totally on purpose because a lot of artists, Schoolboy Q, YG, to name a few, YG was a very close friend of Nipsey, they have all pushed the release of their music back in order to pay respect to Nipsey Hussle. And so while the music industry is showing Nipsey a lot of respect and doing a lot of great things that I greatly, greatly appreciate, a part of me is looking forward to these next coming weeks because now we're starting to get back into the swing of things, and it can start to kind of help the healing process, help the escape. But the Celebration of Life concert really did help with that as well. So again, please go check that out if you are a fan of Nipsey Hussle or someone who cares about the situation, because it brought great closure for me. So without further ado, I'm going to give you my top 5 albums of the year so far. I'll give you what I like about the album, what I don't like about the album, and also some of the tracks to recommend off this. So stay patient with me. I got a lot of this on my phone, so I'll be bouncing back and forth between my notes on my computer screen and my phone to pull up the track list and all that. But first things first, Let's start with my number five. My number five is Death to Race, or sorry, excuse me. Let me look up the correct title because I always mix up this Juice World album's title. Let's see here. Um, looking for it somewhere on my feed. Where is it? Where is it? Man, now I can't find it. Of course, as I need it. Of course, I can't find it. I know it's right after here. Yeah, Death Race for Love. Sorry. So Death Race for Love by Juice World. This is a cool album. Juice World is one of the new artists that I've kind of wrapped around and embraced with open arms because I think he's a talented artist. I think he has versatility. He showed versatility on this album with obviously songs like Flaws and Sins and Ring Ring that are more melodic driven, and then also songs like The Bee's Knees and 10 Feet where he is rapping. And that was something that I hadn't really been too familiar with for Juice World, so that was a pleasant surprise. And even the record Syphilis, which I didn't like, it sounded like a wannabe Denzel Curry record. But however, I do appreciate him taking artistic risks. So there's a lot of cool tracks on here. Some of my favorite tracks this year. Again, just to kind of highlight a few of the records on here as I pull them up. As I mentioned before, The Bee's Knees is probably my favorite off there, as well as 10 Feet, Ring Ring, Flawed and Sins, Desire, Maze, Empty. Those are all great songs. But the problem with this album, and the only problem I have with this album, is that it's 22 songs. Juice World is a very talented artist, like I just said, but he's not an artist that I want 22 tracks from. I don't, because I think you could have shortened this down to 10 tracks. If this was 10 tracks, because I just highlighted, let's see here, how many? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I highlighted 7 records. So if you cut this down from 22 to 10, and I know that sounds like a huge bash against him, and I don't mean it that way, but if you cut down 22 to 10, that is a great project. It'd probably be like 10 tracks, 30 to 35 minutes. That's about perfect for Juice World because of just the artist that Juice World is at this point. Obviously, he's playing the numbers games for streams because I don't know if I broke it down to it on this podcast. I certainly talk about it a lot on my own podcast, where the more songs you get, the more songs you have, the more streams you get, the more album sales you get. So essentially, it pays to have a longer album. That's why you see bigger artists like Drake, Khaled, the Migos, these people that really live and shoot for commercial success. They tend to have longer albums. But Drake, to be fair, Drake's a different exception because he was doing that before streaming took off. I think Drake does it more so from a mind state of wanting to please all of his fans because he has so many different types of fans. There's fans that like the rapping Drake, the singing Drake, the soft Drake, the introspective Drake. All sorts of layers and facets to Drake. So I think he always tries to find that happy medium and please everyone. And my favorite saying is, if you try to please everyone, you're going to please nobody because you're always going to leave room for other people to criticize. And that's always been my biggest thing with Drake. But to get off that Drake tangent, Juice World is just doing the same thing. I don't blame him because he's young, but I don't think Juice World is going to ever become an album artist. He's not going to be a Kendrick Lamar, a J. Cole, someone who puts their thought into the craft of an album. I'm not talking from a lyrical perspective by any means. I'm talking from just a attention to detail and a desire to craft an album. I don't think Juice WRLD looks at albums as something to master. I think he looks at an album as a collection of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and he wants to put it all in there together. And I think Drake approaches it the same way. And so, so that being said, I don't expect him to ever have that like classic album that you're just like, whoa, this is amazing. But after this record and his previous record, Lucid Dreams, between those two projects, I would say that Juice WRLD is someone who I can count on to give me 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 good records an album. Granted, he'll have 20, 25 track albums or 18 track albums. He'll have long, lengthy albums, but he will have records in there that stand out and that are good because he's that talented. And Future's the same way. Future's a great artist, an amazing artist. He's one of the greatest artists of our time. But what kills him is that he kind of oversaturates. And I think if he were more selective, I think he could really give us another classic album, a really special moment. That was kind of my problem again with Wizard, was that it was a little bit too long. I think it was 18 tracks or 20 tracks, so just too long. And I think that if he cuts that down, that would be beneficial to him in the long run. But some artists don't want to be album artists. Some artists just like to have great songs and put out all their thoughts. And I get it. A lot of these songs take a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of energy. So I can understand wanting to release it. Like, I'm not an artist myself. I'm a podcaster. But I can't imagine, even though I have done this, I can't imagine making a podcast and then not releasing it. It's to me, it's like I put all this work into this. I had this expression. I thought this was awesome. I mean, yeah, I have stuff that's better than this, but this is still something I put my time into. I want to put this out there. I did this for a reason. I did this because I'm passionate about it. And, obviously in my scenario is different. Mine was just more so technical problems and things of that nature rather than actual content. I've always just released the content if the content is good. But I've never held back. I've never held a project or held a podcast back for that reason. I've only kind of held them back for technical difficulties. But still, imagine that as an artist, you put your song, you have your emotional connections to songs too. Like, these are songs that you made when you were an artist or you were just in a different period, in a different emotional state. Maybe you were going through a breakup and you made a breakup song. And all of a sudden, and even though that record might not be as good as another breakup record you made, that's still something that helped and was kind of therapeutic to you in that process and at that time and moment. So I can understand why artists release a lot of songs, and I can understand why artists don't want to be album artists. But just from a critical perspective, I think that Juice WRLD, Future, Drake, these are artists that kind of oversaturate. So sorry about the rant. Let's get back to the list here. Juice WRLD again, number 5, Death Race for Love. Then number 4. So number 4 is a really cool album, a really low-key album in my opinion, and that is Big K.R.I.T's TDT. This is a low-key album. It's only 8 tracks. It's 20-something minutes. Let me just look it up here. Because I want to see what this album like this. 25 minutes at 8 tracks, yeah. So super short, awesome. Just starts off great with the record Energy, and then just transitions all the way through. I love again Energy 100. There's a very catchy melodic kind of poppy hook. Just really out of it's still a Big K.R.I.T record, but it's a pop Big K.R.I.T record, and I didn't think I would enjoy that as much as I do, but I definitely did on this one. It was definitely a great standout record for me. Higher, which is King Part 6, that one is awesome. That was a very introspective, very awesome beat, kind of a Kanye-like beat. And Big K.R.I.T, I think that's his best rapping from a lyrical perspective on this whole project. Also, Look What I Got has such a catchy hook and awesome verses and just a tight beat. So overall, if you're giving that album a shot, check Energy, 100, Higher, and Look What I Got. Those are 4 records on there that I thoroughly enjoy. So back to my list now. Because I don't really have too much more to say. I don't have a rant planned for that one. It was just an all around great project. Number 3, I got Offset's album. Offset's album, which is called Father of Four. This was by far the best Migos album. Now, I reviewed this on the podcast, so if you want to see me go more in depth with this with this album, please go back on the feed and find that episode and listen to that one, because I will go more in depth than I'm going to go here. But Father of Four is a great album. It's the best album of the Migos. Offset is very introspective. He's got things to say. Obviously, he's coming off of the huge controversy of cheating on Cardi and being exposed, and then trying to win her back, and ultimately winning her back. And I thought that he had a lot to say, starting with the open record, Father of Four, with Big Rube from Dungeon Dragons giving this awesome little kind of, I don't know, spoken word, if you will. And it really just sets up the whole album. And then Offset is rapping about, all his different kids from all his different baby mamas. He's got four kids with four different mothers. And so he kind of talks about just dealing with that, juggling with that, and it really sets up the theme of the album. And then North Star, I mean, that is a very unlike Migos beat. It's so cool, because it's one of those albums it's one of those beats rather that's like, it's beautiful, it's lushy, it's spacious, it's just a very awesome instrumental, and it has choir vocals, and this is stuff that you don't normally see in a Migos record, so it makes me really enjoy this. Then I absolutely CeeLo kills the feature on this. He comes in, he kills it, and then there's like this twist at the end where, again, that beautiful stacked choir vocals comes in. It's just an amazing record. Definitely one of my favorites off there. Another one that I would highly recommend off there is Legacy with Travis Scott and 21. This is far more predictable. It's basically one of those records that it's not done in a bad light, but everyone is doing exactly what you'd expect. It's a banging 808 Mafia beat, and it's a super commercial record, but it's fun and it's cool, and I enjoy it. Again, Offset, 21, and Travis all do their part and do it well. I like when those three get together. Another record, Clout, Cardi B. This one is just awesome. It really shows the highlight. It really highlights, I should say, the chemistry between Offset and his wife, and they just, they just really play so well off each other, and it's so dope because usually when we hear Cardi with Offset, it is with the entire Migos. Like, we don't really get just those two together, where they get to play off themselves and kind of bring that family dynamic to the microphone, and it's really cool. Cardi's just confrontational, bold. She's unique. She's dynamic, and obviously Offset is laid back, cool. He's that guy that he's the smooth player, right? The smooth operator. Whereas again, Cardi's just like bashful, bold, dynamic, and it creates like an awesome contrast. And that, to me, I'll be honest with you, is one of my favorite Cardi verses ever. She absolutely snaps. I could rap that entire Cardi verse word for word, because that is one of my favorite verses of not only Cardi just ever, but also one of my favorite verses this year that I've heard. It's a phenomenal verse. She absolutely snaps on it. I really, really enjoy it. So definitely check that one out. The other record, Forgiven, I want to highlight. Wrong one. Came a Long Way. This is the outro. It's produced by Metro. Offset, again, kind of brings it full circle, reflecting on his come up, his personal life, his family, and really just kind of gives a nice, thoughtful conclusion to the album, and it kind of makes everything come full circle. So I really, really enjoy that record, and the instrumentation on it. So that's definitely a great record. Ironically, the one knock I have on it is that it doesn't have like that super duper Migos commercial hit. Again, I mentioned the record Legacy with Travis and 21, but that's not a record that's going to be super commercial. It's not bad and bougie, it's not like one of those top records. And coming into this, I thought that was one thing you could count on Offset having in the bag, or just any Migos artist in the bag, is because they're just so talented at making hits. They make hits so effortlessly that I would have thought for sure that that Offset would have had one of those, and he didn't. He didn't have that super duper smash record, but again, he tried a lot of things. He was I thought he gave a different taste as far as instrumentals go, and sonically speaking, and he did a great job with the features. Like, there's not a single feature that feels forced or out of place, or just doesn't perform. Like the J. Cole feature, I didn't know an Offset and J. Cole track would be so dope, but here it is, So I really just enjoy this project, and I highly recommend it. It's a good album at number 3, so definitely check that one out. Then number 2 and 1 are very close, so I'm going to give you the 2, and then I'll give it to you both, and then I'll jump into number 2, then number 1. So number 2, I got 2 Chainz album, Rap or Go to the League. Now, this album is an awesome album. It is an album that, well, it is awesome, I will say in one vein, it is very, very, how do I say this? It's very underwhelming considering the potential that I had. But I had super, super high expectations coming into this record, just because 2 Chainz is an amazing, amazing artist. But I thought this album was good. I thought it had great records. I thought it had great moments. I just felt like overall it just didn't live up to the quality of Pretty Girls Like Trap music. But records like Forgiven, the intro track with Marsha Ambrose, then you got Threat to Society following right after it, where it's just such a timeless beat. Like, I can imagine myself listening to that record for another 30 years from now and still feeling the same way I feel about that record right now. And I don't know if I have that off of anything Pretty Girls Like Trap music. So that's a really dope record. Then he had good features, I thought. I thought all his features made sense. I don't think they were used as good as the features in Offset's album, but I think they were used pretty well. The Kendrick Lamar Mama I Hit a Lick was unique. It was fun. It was different. The Ariana Grande one was awesome. She absolutely killed it. And then the $2 Bill one with Lil Wayne and E40, that was a really dope record. Lil Wayne and E40 both absolutely snap on that record. And, I guess another problem I have with this record is that there's sometimes 2 Chainz gets showed up by his features. He got showed up by Kendrick. He got showed up by Lil Wayne and E40 on that record. If you're ranking those 3 verses, 2 Chainz has the worst of the 3. It's still a solid verse, but again, I don't think it's nearly as good as Wayne or E40's. So he gets outperformed on his own records. And then the closing track, Sam, is a really, really dope track that really kind of brings it full circle, and he starts talking about taxes and all these things. And that's a really dope record. So it's just overall up and down, roller coaster. Then you have tracks like NCAA, where it's just trying to be a banger, but it falls short. So it's a roller coaster of emotions for me as a huge 2 Chainz fan. And I will admit that, I want to sit with it more, and maybe my thoughts will change about it. But right now I have it at number 2. Again, number 1 is Boogie's Everything Is For Sale. Everything Is For Sale is Boogie's album. It is it is under the Shady Records umbrella. Obviously Boogie's been signed to Eminem for the last, I think, 2 years now, or maybe it's just 1. But that was a really, really dope record that I thoroughly enjoy. Like, when I think about that album, the production is great, the beats are so fitting, and the way they constantly change on almost every record makes the listen so entertaining, especially the first listen, because I'm just laying there listening to it my first time, and and then all of a sudden a beat will switch, and I'll look at my phone and it's still the same track, because I'll be thinking, oh, okay, it's a new song. What's this song called? And so I'll check my phone, and then I see that, and I'm like, whoa, like, this is the same song. It's crazy. And so just the sheer entertainment that I get from that album, plus Boogie is a super dope artist. He has great lyricism, very introspective. He's topical with his verses, meaning that everything is not meaning like as far as like world news topical, but topical as in whatever theme, whatever topic he is writing to, he sticks to that very well, and he stays within that scope very well. He doesn't venture outside of it. And a lot of artists tend to do that when they're rapping. A lot of artists will, as they're writing verses, they'll just write what's coming to mind. They'll write what they're rhyming about, and it all just kind of, they're focused on rhyming as opposed to the actual whole picture of the verse. What picture does the verse paint? And I think Boogie does a very good job of playing in and out of themes. Like you'll see him interweave verses and just themes into a verse. Like one of the great standout records on here is LOL Shake My Head, the interlude, where it has this awesome beat change, and throughout this song Boogie will rap about his personal he'll rap about his relationship and his problems with his child's mother, and then he'll kind of veer off into his own personal problems, but then he brings it back and shows how it connects to the dysfunction that's in his relationship with his woman. So again, he's very introspective, and he's very poignant with his pen, and I really, really enjoy that, and that makes him a great artist. And also, another thing that really makes him dope is that he can, as well as almost any artist, can switch from rapping to singing so effortlessly in his flows. Now, JID is really great at that. Chance is really great at that. Lil Wayne is amazing at that. But Kendrick's also very good at it. There's some artists that are very good at switching between singing and rapping, even in the middle of a verse. Drake, obviously. But Boogie is someone who does it fantastic. He does it very, very well. He does it on that level tier. I mean, I really, really enjoy it because he is special when it comes to writing. He'll start rapping and then he'll bring in this beautiful melody for a couple bars, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then he'll go back to rapping, and it's just really also flawless and so intricate that I really, really enjoy it. So definitely recommend that. That is my number one record of the year. And there you have it. That's my top 5 of the year. That's what I have so far. Next week I'll come back with what to look forward to. I got a ton of stuff coming. Not only do I got hardcore facts, but I also got some very interesting hip-hop music conspiracy theories that are going to be floated as far as to who's dropping and when. So look forward to that, and then I'll follow that up with, after that episode, I have another special episode in the can that I can't wait to get to. So thank you everyone for listening. As always, this is the Last Track Review here on Sports Radio Detroit. I am your host, Chris Platte. Please feel free to follow me at The Real Chris Platte on all social medias, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want. And then also if you don't already, follow Sports Radio Detroit at Sports Radio Detroit on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, even Facebook. Go check out their fan page. Their fan page is dope as well. So check all of that out. Thank you everyone for listening, and I will be back next week to again break down all of the crazy stuff that is coming, because I'm telling you this. People have been telling me this all year. People that really know things, that know even more than I do, that are even more plugged in than I am. So everyone is telling me that this summer is going to be crazy, and there's going to be a lot that happens. So I'll be breaking it all down and giving you what I know next week. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll see you next week.
This has been an SRD production.
Because I feel like a salad tossing might feel good.
What?
Out of Bounds Detroit podcast. Tuesday morning and Friday mornings here on SportsRadioDetroit.com.